Welcome to the Eat Your Content podcast, your home for all things food and pop culture. I am your host, Rich Herrera. Just a reminder to follow me on socials, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, at Rich Herrera and at Eat Your Content. And some programming reminders. Again, we are recapping Top Chef all season long for season 21. So make sure to like and follow on YouTube or your preferred podcast player of choice. And make sure you turn on those notifications and hit that bell so you'll know when new recaps drop. Joining me again, who never disrespects a fish, my friend Chef Amadeus. Welcome back, Chef.
Hey man, welcome to be back. Welcome to be back.
So let's get right into it. We get into the quick fire, and they do something called a meat raffle, which obviously nobody's ever heard of.
Except
But
for Dan.
except
Except
for
for Dan.
Dan. Dan was like, "Oh wow, okay." So we're pulling some obscure, well, obscure, but obscure Wisconsin specific kind of things, food centric traditions that they do, and it's really interesting to hear some of the reactions to some of these, as obscure as they are, and they're now being introduced to the greater audience there. So a meat raffle, Kristen explains that apparently back in the day, the bar patrons would pay $1 for a paddle and had a number on it. They'd call your number. You get to, I guess, I don't know what, pick whatever meat was left in the freezer. I didn't Google the history of this, but I'm just trying to think of, like, I don't know, maybe this was back before refrigeration or something, or I don't know. They're closing night and they're trying to get rid of some food. I mean, what
Well,
do you
well,
think?
as you see, I think what I'm getting more and more into right now, besides the show, is Dan's reaction to things.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's fun. When they picked a local guy, they really picked, what a born and raised Wisconsinite that just knows what's up and
Yeah,
all these things. He goes, "Oh man." So that's really
yeah.
interesting.
I
So
mean, his reaction is should have a show by itself. Everything that they say about Wisconsin, you're like, like when they talked about the fish bowl, he's like, I just
yeah, I got some thoughts on that. We'll get
it's
to that when we talk about the elimination challenge, but I gotta say, a fish boil does not sound appetizing to me, but it's a Wisconsin thing, so it's in there. But we'll get into that here in a little bit. So talking about the meat raffle, so we have two-time James Beard Award winner Art Smith as they called him, Fancy Santa Claus, as the guest judge overseeing the meat raffle. So this is like bingo in Top Chef's version. They have the bingo wheel and ping pong balls with names on them, and Manny's the first one that comes up, and they have this tray of meat that they can pick from, and some of them's like good quality meat, some of them is canned meat. So I thought that was interesting. Manny comes up first, and he gets the Wagyu ribeye. Dan comes up next. He gets the Chateaubriand, or a fillet. Michelle gets ground chicken. Savannah, let's talk about Savannah's pick for a second. She was fourth, so they still had some pretty good, pieces of meat up there. There's lamb and some other things. She goes for the canned corned beef, and everybody's like, that's ballsy. That's a baller move right there. And even I think Dan or Danny was saying, that's some confidence to pick what even Savannah called, dog food. What did you think, Savannah, picking that? And when you first saw it, not knowing how it all turned out, but when you first saw that, what did you think? Was Savannah crazy?
no. I thought she. Well, here's my thing. When somebody picks an item like that with other great items left, in my mind, I'm like, well, if you can, it's easy to cook good meat good, but it's hard to cook bad meat good.
Yeah.
So she was like, you know what? Y'all getting the wagyu and the chicken and all. Yeah, that's easy to do. We on Top Chef. Let me show you what I can do with something that nobody wants. Nobody wanted that. Because when she picked it, everybody like, whoo, glad she picked that.
Yeah, she came in with a
Versus
plan.
her, right? She was like, like she said, I got something in my head that I want to try and make it happen. And like I said, I'm glad. This gonna sound kind of crazy, but I've said this before on the show. I'm glad a woman picked that and did something ballsy.
And it's kind of like what you were saying earlier. Is like if you can make canned corned beef really good, that shows a lot of skill and a lot of effort versus somebody getting a Wagyu ribeye that you don't really have to do a whole lot to, other than 30 seconds one side, flip it over 30 seconds on the other, and you're done, and that's it.
So with Manny grabbing the Wagyu, the, it puts more pressure on him than it does on her because you got Wagyu the top of the top.
Yeah,
Don't mess it
yeah,
up. You cannot mess this up. You have no excuses. You have Wagyu. She has canned meat.
yeah,
You can't mess it up. So for her to grab that, I was like, okay. I was interested to see what she would pull off.
yep. Surrounding out the six, he had Danny picking next with lamb, and then finally Sue gets what they called luncheon meat, aka it was spam. Let's just call it spam.
Yep.
But and Sue getting spam. I love spam. I think spam is an underrated ingredient, and you can do some really versatile things with spam. If it were me, I probably would have picked spam. I love spam. Spam's great.
Yeah, what is your spam fixation?
Yeah. I mean, if you have, especially if you're one of those folks that grew up with spam,
Yeah.
if here's my thing, if you grew up with spam and you're a chef now, oh, you got some amazing dishes to do with spam.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So the challenge was in 30 minutes to cook a dish with their chosen meat, and the winner gets $10,000. And as mentioned in the last episode, the quick fire will be part of the judges' overall criteria on who stays and who goes. So let's talk about what everybody made. So Danny made a Zatar Spice lamb rack, Jimmy Nordello harissa relish, labna and mint. Dan made a Sichuan Chateaubriand noodle dumpling. Michelle made a jerk chicken nugget, black bean puree, pickled mango salsa. Yeah, let's talk about Michelle. Let's stop and talk about her for a second. She waited way too
No, let's
long and
move on.
made
Let's move on. Let's move on. Let's move
she
on.
she waited way too long to cook chicken and made those patties way too thick, put way too much breading on there. You cannot be this deep in the competition and serving raw meat.
It's raw. It's supposed to be raw.
I was like, Michelle, what are you doing? What are you doing? And she knew it. She
Listen,
knew it. She put that
listen,
chicken in the fryers like, this is not going to be enough, but I got to put something down. You might as well put nothing down.
listen. You know I love Michelle. Time just got away from her. That's it.
Yeah.
That's all that we both can say is time got away from her. Um, and and but here's the thing. Here's the thing. And I've said this on many accounts. It's easy for a non-competitive to sit back and armchair this. If you're not in that moment, and I've been in that moment, you really don't understand how time will fly away because we're getting snippets of what they're doing. We're getting the snippets, um, and time got away from her, and you can feel it closing in on her. And in my opinion, she did what she could, and she she took it. She took it.
Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying. I'm Monday morning quarterbacking it. I'm not a chef. I've never been on a cooking competition. But look, you're 10 episodes in. This is not your first time working with an abbreviated clock. No excuse. You got no excuse. None whatsoever. You gotta
I'm
know
trying.
you
I'm
gotta
trying.
know that clock. You gotta feel it in your head. You gotta have that internal timer going, and you have to understand, how long it takes to make ground chicken nugget. And so if this were the first couple of episodes, maybe first three, maybe even first four, and you're still kind of working on clock management, okay, I can forgive you on that one. But no, you're in the top six now. No excuse.
I'm gonna tell you that clock is your worst. It could be your best friend or it could be your worst. And that's the same thing with the ticket machine. The ticket machine coming in. It makes you lose. It puts you in a whole different category. I mean, a mind just it's crazy. But listen, maybe I'm defending Michelle because I like her. I love her style. But Michelle. I'm going to bat for you, girl.
Now it's what her plan sounded great. I would love to try a jerk chicken nugget, a homemade chicken nugget, with that black bean puree and pickled salsa. I mean, pickled mango salsa. That sounds delicious, but man, she couldn't get that chicken together. So Sue made a dosarak with luncheon meat. It was like a Korean style spam dish, marinated egg, jasmine rice, and Brussels sprouts. Savannah, with her canned corned beef, did a crispy corned beef and beet salad, creme fraiche, and pickled celery. And Manny, let's talk about Manny for a second. He did a Wagyu ribeye aquachile. So aquachile rears its head again. Serrano chili tordos and onion and cilantro relish. I don't know if anybody knows how to make an aquachile on Top Chef. I mean, every version of aquachile is wrong. Like the first one early in the season wasn't spicy enough. The other one was too acidic, and I think it was too acidic in Last Chance Kitchen. And then with Manny, he ends up on the bottom of the quick fire because he messed up a wagyu. He drowned it in aquachile, and it just completely destroyed the beef. He didn't have to do anything to that steak. All he had to do is cook it 30 seconds one side, 30 seconds on the other, come up with a good,
So
sauce and a side, and you're done.
right. So I think so. I mentioned this before. How everybody's doing aquachile, aquachile, aquachile. So I made an aquachile. I made one.
Like
And I'm
during
like,
this
okay, let me.
season, as you were watching, you're like, let me try
Yes,
my hand at an aquachile. How hard could it be?
this week I made one. And what I did was because it's so liquid and fluid with the garlic and onions and everything. I literally made bacalaitos, crispy fritter, and I used it as a dipping sauce and put the everything on top and ate it like a salad and dipped it in there. It was good. Um, but I just think that Manny is disappointing that he makes aquachile and messes it up. Manny's disappointing that he had wagyu beef
And messed it
and he
up.
had the first choice to grab it.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, you got wagyu. You could have seared it. Bam, bam, bam. Aquachile as a side piece, and yeah. So I just think, and what it is here's what I believe it is. They're going, they trying to take everything to the next level. But as it's been said many times on Top Chef, know when to say when. Edit your dish. Less is more. All those kind of phrases because there's you got wagyu. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
ta pepper, salt. Yeah, I
Yeah.
was I was shocked that he was at the bottom.
Yeah, what he should have done was the meat speaks for itself. Use those 30 minutes, use 25 of those 30 minutes to come up with what you want to complement the steak. And then the last 5 minutes, cook the steak, let it rest, slice it, done. So, Manny did it aquachile. In Manny's defense, nobody made a good aquachile. So the aquachile 3, Chef Teston 0. So, here we are.
I mean, like I said before, what is this aquachile, and that's why I made it because I was like, okay, but to me, it's like a
Spicy water.
you can take the, but here's the thing, you can do the same thing with sofrito, same kind of things. Instead of using like a serrano chili, use ají dulce peppers. Just it just I don't know the technique of it. Kind of you can do the same thing with sofrito, and if you blend those flavors together, you get this amazing dip for like the fritter and dip it in there, scoop it up, and put it in your mouth. Amazing stuff.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, okay, aquatile.
So we have the top six now, so there's no middle anymore, and it's illustrated here with they have a top two and really a bottom four. The top two were Sue and Savannah. The judges said that Sue had good rice, a nice silky egg, nice little treasures throughout. His looked really good. Like I said, I'm a fan of Spam. I'd have ate that. I mean, other than how fancy it was, I have made Spam, eggs, and rice for breakfast. And with
Right?
some kombu or some seaweed, some shredded seaweed on there. Yeah, it's good stuff. Savannah was also in the top two. Tom Colicchio said she was surprised with what she did with the canned corned beef. She did great. I mean, she came in with a plan, knocked it out of the park, and ended up winning. So she was the winner of the quick fire. So this is back to back challenges for Savannah. She won last week's elimination challenge, comes in this week, wins the first quick fire, wins 10K. So her total cash winning so far is 18K. And man, Savannah picked just the perfect moment to start peaking, right? To really start
Yeah.
cooking really well. And, as soon as the middle dissolved away, she kicked it into gear and is really doing a lot of good stuff over the last couple of seasons. What do you think? Savannah was your pick on your draft team. She was the last pick, but what we call the Mr. Irrelevant in the NFL draft. So she was your last pick, but she's doing really well. What do you think?
Kudos to her. Kudos to her. I hope she continues to improve on herself. And like I said, now the middle is gone.
Yep.
The middle is gone. So now it's all about just banging those things out, dishes after dishes after dishes, being creative, being smart, being focused. And she's back to back. So we'll see what happens next time.
Yep. Yep. So again, no middle. So we have our bottom four. So they made some notes on why these were on the bottom. Manny had too much acid in the aqua chile, so it overpowered the wagyu, which that's just disrespectful to the wagyu. Michelle had,
Right?
oh, well, we talked about Michelle, too much batter and yeah, raw chicken. Danny over rested his meat, so robbed the meat of some juiciness. And Dan needed more meat in the center of that noodle, and everything ate dry. So those four were on the bottom. So we get into the elimination challenge. They said, "Hey, wear something comfortable, come out back, and we got something special for you for the elimination challenge." They get out there and they're met by just a cavalcade of Top Chef alumni. Running down the list, you got Gregory Gourdet, who was on Top Chef Boston and All Stars, the LA All Stars season. Sarah Bradley was on Top Chef Kentucky and was on last season, World All Stars runner up. I also interviewed her on my pod. So if you're watching this on YouTube, somewhere floating around, I have a link. You can check that out. If you're listening on Spotify, I'll put a link in the show notes. But yeah, so she was on there. She was back. It was good to see her back in the Top Chef world. Shota Nakajima, probably one of my favorite contestants, and somebody I want to get on my pod. So Shota, on the off chance you're listening, come on the pod. He was on Top Chef Portland, one of my favorite seasons. Top Chef Portland was really great. Justin Sutherland from Top Chef Kentucky, May Lynn from Top Chef Boston, and Jeremy Ford from the California season. So what was fun, I thought it was kind of a reunion of the Fast Foodies crew between Kristen, Jeremy, and Justin. They were the host of Fast Foodies. Have you ever seen that show?
I have.
Yeah, that show is so funny. If you haven't watched it, I'm sure it's streaming somewhere, but the concept was a celebrity would come on, talk about their latest project or whatever, and then they would tell the chefs, okay, my favorite fast food or my favorite, fast food thing as a kid was, this. And then they would make a high-end gourmet version of that thing, and then the celebrity would pick the winner, and then the loser would have to do this kind of like, silly, punishment type of thing. But it was just a really fun show. If you can find it streaming somewhere, just watch it. I mean, everybody's kind of got their hair down and just really looks like they're having a lot of fun. So it was neat to see their reunion kind of come in, but they kind of didn't really acknowledge each other. It's like, oh hey, it was all business, all professional. So you have a whole bunch of Top Chef All Stars, and then Art Smith is going to be doing the judging, and they talk about this fish boil thing. So Kristen said, yeah, there's crab boils, there's crawfish boils, there's shrimp boils, but in Wisconsin, there's something called a fish boil. And man, I thought if Dan's eyes rolled any further in the back of his head, the earth would have tilted on its axis. He's like, he says, I hate fish boils. It's the opposite of everything that we were taught to do with fish as a chef. So when you heard of this concept, have you ever heard of a fish boil first? And if not, what did you
Nope.
think of this concept after watching kind of how it goes down?
Well, to me, it seemed like I said, I've never heard of a fishbowl before, but and the way they did it, it looked like to me a new concept kind of a thing. Um, and when I say new, unlike a crab boil or crawfish boil, people been doing that since the beginning of time. but no one's ever thrown gasoline on the fire to I thought that was more of a showpiece versus what he said it was for.
Yeah, so they
Maybe I'm
actually
wrong.
yeah, so they actually demonstrate a fish boil, right? So it's like any other kind of seafood boil except it's with whitefish, and they have this guy named Torch, appropriately named, who is a what they called a fish boil master, I guess. And he talks about the boiling process, and you're cooking over an open fire, and the top of the water can get some scum and ash from it from the fire. So at the last minute, you take some kerosene and you throw it on the fire, and it generates this huge fireball. And what it does is it's supposed to force the water to boil over so that all that scum and ash comes out of the pot and you have clean food. I mean, I guess, but it looked good on camera, man. That was a great slow-mo shot. It reminded me of like a Jerry Bruckheimer film. I didn't see any water boil over, so I don't know how effective that was.
Like I said,
But
it looked like it was just meant for TV purposes only.
a big old
It,
showpiece.
it did, and that's just me now. We weren't there, but I'm with you. I didn't see any water boil over. I didn't see. All I saw was look, man with kerosene. Poof.
Yeah.
I mean, any man would love to have the opportunity, any reason to throw some gas on the on the fire and get that big fireball. I mean, what man wouldn't want to do that?
I have made fire! I have made fire!
I don't know if there's
I was
any.
like, okay,
I mean, like I said, it looked cool, and I'm thinking, look, if you don't want ash and stuff in your water, put a cover on it, like put a lid on the pot. But
and being someone that and being me, someone that cooks in a Dutch oven outside on
that's
a
right,
regular basis.
that's right.
I mean, we don't put kerosene or gasoline on the fire to get that ash out. We put a lid on top of it. And here's the thing: even if you did get a little ash in there, it ain't that bad. It ain't that big of a deal. So, like I said, me personally being an outdoor cook, I saw that a waste of, you know,
Waste of good
yeah,
kerosene.
I don't pretty much. I mean, and your reasoning for doing it to me, like, really, that don't make sense. But okay.
Well, look, neither one of us are native Wisconsinites, so or Wisconsiners. I don't know what the proper term is. But if you're listening or watching this and you're a native Wisconsin resident or have lived there or grew up there, leave a comment down below and let us know. Like, look, was this legit? Was this not
Yeah.
legit? Or are we talking out of our heads? Or are we making fun of something that really is something that happens? I don't know. But like I said, look good on TV. Nice slow-mo explosion. Pretty cool. So they demonstrate it, they eat it, they taste it. Everybody says it looks good. And I'm not a big boiled fish fan, but if it's good, I'll eat it. So I just have to try my
Right.
first one to be a proper judge. So we'll see. So after they get done eating, the Top Chef All Stars and the contestants are kind of getting to know each other. So Kristen reveals the twist. So the twist is the six All Stars are going to be doing the shopping for the contestants. The chef tested. So they have 5 minutes. The chefs have 5 minutes to break down their vision to their partner, to their all-star partner, who's going to go out to Whole Foods and do the shopping for them, which I thought was pretty interesting. So they're going in blind. They don't know what they're going to get,
Right.
and really hope that the all-stars just get what they get. So here's how the pairing broke down. So Savannah won the elimination challenge last week. So as a result, she gets an advantage for this week. And the advantage was she gets to pick her all-star that's going to do her shopping. So her and Shota kind of got to know each other a little bit, and they kind of cook the same type of food. So she picked Shota. Shota is going to be shopping for Savannah, and then everybody else had to draw knives. So the all-stars drew knives, and here's how it shook out. So Gregory is going to be shopping for Sue. May is going to be shopping for Manny. Sarah is shopping for Michelle. Justin is shopping for Danny. And Jeremy is shopping for Dan. So they talk about what they're going to do, and they off to Whole Foods they go. And it was kind of fun watching them shop. A lot of them were like, oh man, this brings back memories. And oh, this is so fun to be in this environment again. And pretty much, the shopping went fine. It was fun to watch, and so they get 30 minutes in there, and um, yeah, so they get their shopping. What do you think of that little twist of the All Stars doing the shopping for the chefs?
That was interesting because even though they had time to tell their counterpart, hey, this is my idea, this is what I want to do, they still have to translate it and go to the store, and hopefully they have those type of things. And then of course some of the chefs, some of the all stars, like, well, just in case, I'm gonna bring this stuff here, even though they didn't ask for it. I'm gonna bring them this. I'm gonna make sure they have this. Like, what's the chef name? She bought the masa,
Oh yeah, Maylin.
and he was like, no, don't do that.
I'm not making tortillas from scratch,
Oh,
but luckily
I
she
ain't
bought
making that
regular
from scratch.
tortillas too.
Yeah, but so like I said, it's that those chefs in their head, they're like, well, why don't you just same thing with the avocado? I don't think avocado is a side. And Manny was like, yeah, it's a side. And, okay.
This is my dish, man. Quit telling me how to make my dish. But
But that's what happens when you're working with chefs,
yeah, yeah. Danny seemed, when they.
especially you talking to a chef that won.
Oh
You
yeah,
talking to a chef that won Top Chef. So it's like she's telling you, like, dude, that's
this
really
ain't it.
not a side.
That ain't it. Guacamole ain't it. So yeah,
Yeah.
on one hand, it's like, yeah, look, you're only here to do the shopping for me. This is my dish. Let me cook my dish. But you're right. On the other hand, they won Top Chef or been in multiple Top Chefs, so they know what they're talking about. When Mei Lin tells you guacamole is not a good side, you really got to take that to heart and say, "Am I doing the right thing?" So I don't know. But Danny, it was funny. Danny seemed worried when he said, "Okay, all these people are going to do shopping for you." He just kind of looks down, and goes, "Great, great, 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 great."
Cool. Cool, 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 cool.
So he's kind of playing it in his head. I thought that was pretty funny. So the next morning, they get to Grant Park Beach, which is a beautiful looking beach, and it was time to inspect the ingredients. Danny thought Justin did pretty well, and Justin had a little bit of extra money and bought him a bath bomb, which I thought, that's pretty nice. A bath bomb and you relax after a
See,
hard day
a
of
chef
cooking.
to a chef. Listen, a chef to a chef, they'd be like, dude, I know you can use this. Oh, yeah. Especially in the heat on the beach. Yeah.
Look, you got to
Sweating. Yeah.
self care is a priority, right? You got to take care of yourself.
Treat yourself.
I thought that was probably one of the best things that happened on that show.
I thought it
Because
was
that
pretty
dude
funny.
took time. He thought about, I've been there, man. Trust me.
You're gonna need this bath bomb.
You're going to need a bath bomb.
Yeah, yeah. So I thought that was pretty funny. So they're having to cook for 100 people. So the cooking 100 people and all the guests, VIPs and everything like that. So it's basically one of those catering challenges again. So the cooking starts. Everybody's kind of either deboning their chicken or not deboning their fish or not deboning their fish. Kind of, what do you do in that situation? So Savannah, though, she starts deboning her fish, and she has a new knife that she hasn't used before. Slices a huge gash in her hand. It looked bad. I mean, she took she was trying to get it stopped, and it was just gushing, just. I was like, oh god, that looks bad. But man, she's a trooper.
What was overlooked, and I'm sure it was, did you hear somebody say, do you have anything to colorize it with?
Oh yeah, yeah. That's what she was saying. She's like,
So,
cauterize this
so,
thing, stop it from
so
bleeding.
let me tell you this. I've seen chefs cut themselves, cooks cut themselves, and literally get a hot pan and stick their hand on it,
Oh,
and like, lit- dude, I promise you. So when I heard them say, "Do you have anything to colorize it?" I was like, "Ooh, these young chefs about to find out
I mean,
what a real chef is."
the way she asked, it sounds like she's done it before. Like, this has happened to her. I'm sure, I'm positive this has happened to her before. So, but
Listen, every chef has had a gash. Every chef,
oh yeah.
every chef has had a gash, a cut, and they've all done it differently. Some people, if they have like a little small gash, I've seen waiters, if they have a little small cut, they'll clean it up and drip wax on it, candle wax on it.
Yeah.
Um, like I say, the hot. If they have a hot griddle, you on the stove, on the oven. Yeah, like I said, man, it's brutal. But here's the thing. As crazy as that sounds, that's a normal thing on these lines on a Friday, Saturday night. You
Yeah.
can't stop it like, oh my God, my finger. No, dude. Wrap it and go. Worry about it later.
Yeah. Yeah. That
And
cut looked
that's why you see
nasty.
it with gloves on, with three
Yep.
pair of gloves.
Yep. Yeah, it's basically what happened.
Yeah.
They found a way to get it to stop bleeding, wrapped it up, threw some gloves on it, and she's effectively cooking one handed now because she was saying the pain was just incredible. So shakes her confidence a little bit, decides not to debone her the rest of her fish because she's got to get going.
You got to
Yeah,
pivot. You got to pivot.
got to pivot. So speaking of pivoting, Sue was expecting a Thai curry paste, but Gregory got a spicy curry powder, so he had to pivot a little bit on
Yep.
his dish. And looking at them or watching them cook on the beach and doing all that run around, they had to take firewood from the pile and add it to their fire as the cook went on, and get ingredients from here to there, and they're running on the beach. It looked miserable. I can't think of a worse place to cook than on the beach.
200 degrees in sunlight, minus 200 in the shade, canyons of razor-sharp rock, unpredictable gravitational conditions, unexpected eruptions, things like that.
Okay, so the scariest environment imaginable. Thanks. That's all you gotta say. Scariest environment imaginable.
I've never cooked on the beach for obvious reasons. You got wind, you got sand, you got bugs, you got
Yep.
everything. I mean, you're an outdoor guy. You cook out in the woods. I've seen some of your Instagram videos. You cook out in the woods,
Well, listen,
camping,
it's like Danny
cooking on the
said.
beach.
Listen, it's like Danny said, trying to cut chives in the wind. That,
Yeah,
that's that, that's crazy. You trying to cut chives in the wind blowing. Yeah. Like I said, those chefs were troopers to pull anything off. Win, lose, or draw. Kudos to you cooking on the beach in the wind, the, the sand blowing. I'm surprised somebody to say the food was gritty.
I don't like sand. It's coarse and rough and irritating, and it gets everywhere.
yeah, I know, right? And speaking of Dan, poor Dan. I mean, hats off to that guy because he's already having to walk around with a cane
Oh,
because of his Kennedy's disease, and they didn't alter the challenge for him. He was doing the same thing as everybody else, and he was having to run back and forth. And God, he looked exhausted. They showed one scene where he was just downing some water, just guzzling it. And I was thinking, oh man, I forgot all about
he
his Kennedy's disease. This has got to be awful for him.
Oh man, like I said, Dan is becoming one of my favorites because of his disease and because he's not letting it interfere with what he's doing. Because by all means, he's killing it right now.
Yeah,
Dan is killing it in every aspect of what he's doing. So I'm a fan of what of how he's getting through this.
yeah.
And yeah, and like I said, yeah, walking on that sand. Oh yeah, that must be just like brutal on his body.
Yeah. I mean, look, I go when I go to the beach probably once a year when my grandkids come to visit, and just carting everything from the car to the beach is like I'm done. I'm like I'm ready to go home. And this is stupid. And so I can't even imagine doing everything that they were doing, going back and forth and up and down. Oh God, good
Yeah,
on them. Hats off to all the chefs cooking in those kinds of conditions. So let's talk about meal service. So Danny was first. He did a sofrito boil, salsa verde, carrot slaw, French bean, and bonito salad. They said the judges said the fish was cooked perfectly. May said got a lot of flavor from the broth. Salsa verde complemented it very well. Gregory said the salad was stunning and it was good enough to steal. Art said that. He had a really smart move. Danny did. He thought, look, if boiling the fish, because you can't boil the fish until there's like 8, 7 minutes left in the boil, but it's not enough time to really impart a lot of flavor because you're not poaching the fish. You're literally boiling it. So he had the smart
mhm.
idea to brine the fish beforehand, which I thought was very smart. Very smart. I don't think anybody else did that. They didn't show anybody else doing that. But Danny thinking on his feet, and it's like, you know what I'm going to do while I'm waiting for the boil is I'm going to brine this fish. What did you think when you saw that happening?
Great move, absolutely great move. Because like I say, the fact that you know you have to add flavor into it. So between him and Michelle, I like what they did. So with Danny, like I said, he brined it, gave it time to set, and just waited to that 8 minute mark, and then hit it with that with the gasoline. Great job, great move.
Yeah, very smart, very smart. So Savannah did a kimchi gochujang boil with baby potatoes and a smashed tofu salad. She was a little worried that her potatoes came out flavorless, but apparently they came out pretty good. A couple of judges made some remarks about the potatoes. Tom thinks the fish was bland. Kristen said it was overcooked, and everybody thought the potatoes were great. So everything kind of disintegrated though in the salad. That tofu salad didn't come out real well. And I think definitely probably a bottom dish, but she had a good quick fire, so we'll see if that gets her saves her. Sue, oh poor Sue. Sue had a pineapple curry fish boil, a fish sauce beurre blanc, twice cooked potatoes, crispy corn miso slaw. The corn was raw. Nothing about the slaw looked appetizing. The top was really mushy, according to Tom. Fish was cooked nice, but it felt very disconnected. The pineapple butter sauce was the best thing on the plate, according to Gail. This is an example of not editing. I mean, it was a clunker for sure. But he had way too many things going on. Yeah, what do we think of Sue?
Sue's problem is, I said this before, he had too much time to think.
Probably he had too much time to think, and he didn't edit himself, right? Looked himself in the mirror and didn't take that
No,
one
he was
item off.
like, I want this, and like Tom said, how does this all go together?
Yeah,
How does this? What? Um, yeah, Sue is. Yeah, he was. It's like a chef told me one time. He said I had a bunch of ideas and they all on one plate. So that's what Sue had. He had a whole bunch of ideas and he put them all on one dish,
yep,
and
yep,
that's what happened.
yep. Later on in the judges table, they called it a potluck of a plate, which ooh, that's not a great way to describe it. But yeah, Sue did not have a great day. So Dan did a red curry boil, coconut and herb slaw with peanuts, fingerlings with duck fat, and a shiradashi oil. They said the fish was cooked, perfectly cooked, and the broth imparted a lot of flavor. The potatoes were an afterthought, though, and needed more spice. But sounds like the slaw was pretty good. Michelle did a Cajun boil, charred corn and kale salad, potatoes with sausage, peach, and garlic butter sauce. Tom compliments the cook of the fish and the Cajun spice. The potato took on the taste of the sausage. Gail thought all the components told a clear story. Best review so far, I think, of all the dishes, and the best sounding to me out of all of these so far. And more geared towards probably what she's done before, like crawfish boils, Cajun spices. It was pretty much a
Right.
crawfish boil where she just substituted the crawfish for the whitefish. So out of all these, that was the one that
I
I
agree.
wanted to taste the most. It just sounded really, really good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, it the her flavors. That's what I say. And she over seasoned. So when you put that fish in there, that sausage juice in the water and the all the spices, it just yeah. I would have tried that one as well.
yeah, complementary spices all mixing together in that boiling water, and then the fish kind of takes a little bit of that on. So Manny should have listened to Maylin. It was a Mexican boil with tostadas and guacamole and Mexican white rice with corn and chipotle lime butter. It was well cooked fish. Complemented the rice. Manny was the only person to give it a piece of citrus to squeeze on it. But was it too simple? I mean, the judges said it was too safe. Justin, one of the All Stars, said it was too safe. And to me, safe equals boring. Even looking at the plate, the one plate they picked for the beauty shot, as they were describing the dish, looked boring. I mean, it was, Maylin was right. Guacamole is not a side.
It's not, and she tried to tell him, and he was like, no, no. But that's because he's trying to stay safe, what he knows, and she tried to tell him, help him, and you get what you get.
Yep, yep.
Now I have to say this: of all the chefs that were there, I was really impressed with Danny, and it had nothing to do with his food. It was the fact that he went over to help Savannah,
Oh yeah, yeah. Savannah needed some help for sure.
and he's like, "Hey, I've served my food already. Let me go." And that's what chefs should do. I know we're in a competition. I see you're hurting. Hey, look, tell me what to do. And he didn't do it to sabotage or anything like that. He's just like, hey, tell me what you need and I'll help you out. Boom, boom, boom. And they did the same thing with Dan when Dan was trying to plate up and his hands were shaking. They're like, hey, what do we need to do to help you out? Take away all the cooking and everything like that. Being human is, to me, is that really nice step for chefs to do. Just, I'm helping you out just because you need help. No other reason of anything like that. So my hats off to Danny on this episode. And it
Yeah,
has, like I say, has nothing to do with his his cooking or anything else besides that he went to go help out a fellow chef just because they needed help.
that's right. That's right. Yep. It is a competition, but helping out, when somebody's in need, always a good quality to have. So let's talk about judges table.
Yeah.
Top three were Michelle, Danny, and Dan. All of them were surprised they were in the top three. Dan especially. I mean, he looked like he was going to pass out that he
Michelle.
was in the top three. Yeah, Michelle was a little bit surprised. So
Michelle was like, what? Me? Oh.
I mean, it's good to see Michelle. It was good to see Michelle come out of her kind of mini slump over the last few episodes. So she's kind of getting it back in gear. Dan's reaction I thought was hilarious. He said, "I've never disrespected a fish like that." And what's funny is like at the beginning he said, "I hate fish boils. I'm just not a fan. It goes against
Yep.
everything I was taught as a chef in culinary school of how to treat a fish." And he wins the thing. It's a perfect example, contrary to episode 1 of what was that guy's name with the hat? Said I hated pasta, and he just disrespects pasta, and kind of just blows it
But
in the
here's the
wind.
thing, though. He did the same thing Michelle did when one of her things. She's like, I don't know what I'm doing, but hey, we'll see what happens. And she winds up winning.
Yeah.
So, um, yeah, like I said, kudos to Dan. Great job. Um, my only disappointment in Dan is he's on your team. Uh,
Yeah, we're gonna talk
but
about
yeah,
teams here in a little bit. So
but I'm very very happy to see him uh, doing what he's doing, being a local chef, and you could tell he's that local chef because he'll puts his approval or disapproval on stuff like this fish bowl, like, oh Lord, I don't want to do no damn fish bowl.
yeah.
And then but what he's going through and everything. Yeah, my hat's off to Dan. I'm a fan of his.
Yep. So the winner was Danny. Danny was a unanimous decision all around. You got to think he's probably the front runner to win this thing at this point with 6 left. He's never been on the bottom. He's either won it or was safe, but he's never been on the bottom of an elimination challenge yet. So I got to think he's probably going to be in the finals. I mean, what do you think? He's doing really well. He's a technician. He knows how to cook. I mean, he's a great chef.
Yeah, but like I said, I love him because he's on my team. I'm rooting that he continues this path on, always being creative. Um, and I have to say, he does the most amazing things with carrots.
Oh, that's right. He did it. He did that carrot slaw that everybody loved, and Art said he was dreaming
He
about it.
is like
And
he's like killing carrots, and I'm glad because now it lets other young chefs see that carrot is not so boring. Chop up, throw it in the stew or whatever like that. Young chefs, look at Danny.
that's
He's
right.
take a simple vegetable and he's won events with it, won challenges with carrots.
Yeah, it's
With
more than just
carrots.
it's more than just one piece of the mirepoix, right? It can
Yeah.
be a star on its own. So good for him. Good for him.
And he's killing it right now. But yeah, like I said, he's a good contender for that. I think the other person that I think is doing the same thing. I like Dan. Manny can do it if he gets out of his own head because
Mm-hmm.
he's in his head like this is what I'm going to do. When someone literally told you avocado is not a side dish,
Yeah. I mean, he was getting some free mentoring
take
from
that.
Mei Lin, and he wasn't taking it.
Yeah, and like I said, but once again, men have this tendency to be like a bull and be like, nope, I'm doing what I'm doing. Okay.
Yeah.
And now he winds up at the bottom of it. Um, But yeah, like I said, once again, there's 6 people left, and um, yeah, we'll see what happens next. We'll see what
So
happens.
again, there's no middle. So there's a top three and a bottom three. So bottom three is Manny, Savannah, Sue. Sue was eliminated, so he goes back to Last Chance Kitchen, familiar ground for him, and he only has to beat 2 other chefs instead of 5 to get back in. So we'll see what he does here in just a minute. What did you think of Sue getting eliminated?
I saw it coming.
Yeah, I mean, sure.
I, I saw it coming. I think Sue is. I've said it once and said it again. He has too much time to to think about things. He needs to cook like this, like this. Anytime he have time to think long, as we say, I don't know if you play spades or not, but in the game of spades, we say you think long, you think wrong, and that's what he's doing. He's trying to put so much of his head on the plate, and it's too much.
Yeah.
It's too much. And several of his uh, uh, challenges, they've told him, dude, that's too much. That's too much. Pull back a little bit. Editing is hard for him. But I will say this. I said it all along. Whatever dish they mess up, go to their restaurant right now. That
Yeah.
is gonna be some amazing. That's why I want to go to each one of these chefs that did aqua chile. I want to go to their restaurant and try the aqua chile. I guarantee you, it is on point.
So here's my I'm gonna go off a little bit. Here's my hot take on Sue going home. I 100% disagree with this decision. Now, here's why.
Okay.
Here's what I mean by that. If it were just about the elimination challenge, I agree that he should have gone home. He obviously had a clunker of a dish, but it's not. Quick fires play a part. They said themselves, quick fires play a part in the factoring of the decision of who goes home. We're talking about Sue was on the top 2 of the quick fire last challenge just a moment ago. Manny was on the bottom twice. He was on the bottom of the quick fire. He was bottom of the elimination challenge. His elimination challenge dish was boring, and boring is not how you win Top Chef. At least Sue took risks. Did it pay off for him? No. But he had a top dish in the quick fire, and they still sent him home. So either the quick fires matter or they don't, because they. So you're telling me that one dish, now it didn't taste it obviously, but Sue's one dish was so much worse than the 2 bad dishes that Manny had in the quick fire and in the elimination challenge that Sue had to go home. I completely disagree with this decision. I thought Manny should have gone home because he was playing it safe, and safe doesn't win you Top Chef, and he was in the bottom of the quick fire, and if the quick fires matter, he was on the bottom twice, quick fire and elimination. Manny should have gone home. That's my take. Obviously, I'm not the judge, but either the quick fires matter or they don't matter.
If you look at it from a different perspective, if you have 2 chefs, you expect one to knock it out of the ballpark because you've done so well at everything else, the quick fire, and you fought your way back in, and all these different things there. It may have been the fact that the mistakes that he made, even though Manny's was boring or whatever, technically it was good. 2, he may have had some technicalities that pushed him out of the way. Now, granted, with Tom and the other judges, they say the quick fire matters, but the taste and the techniques are the points that they were looking at, I believe, and that's what they were looking at, and that's why Sue went home. Now, should Manny have been? But hold on, here's the thing. In my opinion, Manny should have been gone before. Before this even week. You see what I'm saying? So that's in the judges' hands. When I work with the young cooks doing competition, I always tell them, once you put the plate up, it's out of your hands.
Yeah.
So the only thing you can do to save yourself is make sure that everything is technically correct. And when it gets to the judges, it's on the judges' choices. And what I tell them is, I always use gumbo as an example. if you give me a gumbo to judge and I see chunks of okra and chunks of tomato, I'm not going to be a fan of it. Has nothing to do with flavor. It's just I don't do chunky okra and tomatoes. Now, John over here may be like, oh man, I love it. So that's why once it's in the judge's hands, it is what they call it is. Even though they put the rules out there, it's still in the judge's hands.
Yeah. I gotta think that Sue's dish was so inedible, so revolting, and so bad that it overshadowed his quickfire top dish. Because again, they said quickfires matter. And if we're looking at all things being equal, that okay, you're on the bottom. Manny, you had a quickfire dish at the bottom. Sue, you had a quickfire dish at the top. But Sue still goes home. Then the only reason was that his dish was so horrible, just completely horrible and trash, that's why he had to go home. It just overshadowed everything else.
Now keep this in mind too. We don't see the entire judging. We see clips of it. Keep that in mind.
Yeah, well, the end result is still the end result. But anyway, I digress.
I granted, you have laid out everything, and you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. But like I said, I thought Manny should have been gone.
Episodes
he
ago.
shouldn't even been on this week. Episodes ago. Even though Manny's my guy, he's been slouching. So, like I said, it's in the judge's hands, and once it's in the judge's hand,
yeah, it's like what they say. It's like what they say in a UFC or boxing match, right? Don't leave it in the hands of the judges, right? Make it so that you are unequivocally the best in the bunch. But it is what it is. I watched it. I was a little angry. I paused it, yelled at the TV for a bit, but it is what it is. So let's talk Last Chance Kitchen. This is the Last Chance finale. It's a 2-part finale. There's 3 chefs in Last Chance Kitchen. The winner of the 3 heads back to the main competition. So we have our first challenge, and for the finale of Last Chance Kitchen, it's a little bit special. So Tom is joined by Kristen, and for the first challenge is they have to create a dish utilizing all quick fires in one cohesive dish. You have Laura, and I just realized after watching the episode, I've been pronouncing Laura's name wrong for the last 10 weeks. It's Laura, I guess. So Laura, Amanda, and Sue in this first challenge, and Tom wheels out all the quick fires, emblematic of all the quick fires, and he said, "Okay, I want you to make one cohesive dish with using all the ingredients and all the techniques that we've talked about in the quick fire." And I was like, "Oh man." I said, "That's just savage." I thought, man, that's savage. Trying to remember all the techniques and ingredients from all the quick fires and turning it into a dish in 30 minutes. But as I was watching them cook, I was like, man, these guys are making it look easy. I said, this in 30 minutes. So when you saw that challenge, where you're like, man, I don't even remember what the quick fire was that we just watched, let alone one from episode 1.
Well, well, what helped was they rolled the whole table out with each one of the flambés and the hops and all that stuff.
Yep.
I think that is I'm not gonna say it's easy. It was an easy challenge. The hardest thing about that is not the cooking part; it's the time. It's the time part.
Yeah.
Trying to put all 7 into I think it was 7 ingredients or whatever, all into one cohesive dish, and that's the important part. Cohesive dish,
Right.
not just on the plate. A cohesive dish. Everything has to make sense.
Yeah.
And I think those chefs did an amazing job in that 30 minutes.
Yeah. So Sue he did a play on a Thanksgiving plate by making a Chateaubriand. I keep pronouncing that wrong. Chateaubriand with a sourdough hop puree, cranberry and cherry sauce, compressed carrots and celery. Kristen said the hops were very front and center. She would have liked the brioche puree to be a little bit thinner, a little bit more sauce-like. Tom thought the flavors were good and that the sourdough puree reminded him of a stuffing. Amanda made a hop smoke Wagyu ribeye with potato puree sauce, flambéed cherry, and cranberry relish. Tom thought the beef was beautifully smoked, but Kristen didn't think the smoking with the hops came through enough. Laura made a Wagyu kebab with baba ganoush, cranberry and pepper relish, hop shung sauce, and flambéed cherry sauce. Kristen liked the components of the dish. Tom thought the meat could have been cooked more. I thought of the three, Amanda's was the one I would want to taste the most. She cooked that wagyu ribeye really well. Notes to Manny. This is how you cook a wagyu ribeye, and it not be overpowered by something else. And I like anything smoked. I think smoked is a really cool technique, both visually and culinarily. A way to impart some light flavor in there. What do you think of these dishes when you were seeing them?
I love the fact that they one infused everything in there in a way where they became cohesive. Um, the techniques that they were using for the flambe, for the smoking, smoking with the hops, and all those, just those techniques. And this is why I always say this: don't worry about the recipe so much. It's all about the techniques. If you learn these different techniques, then you can cook in Wisconsin or Germany. You may have different ingredients, but it's still the technique is still the same. So I was watching that one. Like, man,
Yeah,
they putting all that into there.
it
The
was a
flambés, because the hops, they had a lot of them had trouble with the hops.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Is it too much or not enough? Yeah, I thought it was a really great challenge to watch. Just trying to utilize a bunch of disjointed ingredients and techniques and putting it all together in one dish was really fun to watch. So the winners were Amanda and Laura, and Sue was unfortunately eliminated. The LCK comeback king is King No More. So no more comebacks for him this time around. And again, editing issues. It was just too much on the plate. And the last few challenges had some editing for him. He just didn't know when to stop. So challenge number two is kind of a throwback to Kristen's winning LCK back in 2012. The challenge was 30 minutes just to make a great plate of food. Very wide open. I think Laura had a good point. She's like, this is actually harder than cooking with some parameters. Because what are people looking for? It's almost too much information. Is kind of reminded me of the architect challenge back a few episodes ago, where it was like, what does this all mean, right? So, but 30 minutes, just cook your food. And the strategy here, when you're thinking, if you heard a strategy like cook a good plate of food, do you reach into your bag and cook something you cooked 100 times that you know is going to come out great, or do you try to do something new? Being in a Food Network competition, if you were given that kind of parameter, what would you do?
Well, what I did, I combined the old with the new. Everything I knew how to do, I just brought it in with what the situation was at hand. And that's what they were trying to do. I think she had so much on her head, but then she just took a deep breath and simplified everything. Amanda was just going for it, just just shooting her shot. Um, but like I said, in those situations, you have to put in your your thoughts, your techniques, your circle into that. And I think both of them did a great job at it. It's hard to get started because you see Amanda was like, what should I do? She's standing in the refrigerator like, what should
Yeah,
I do? Miss Lady over here was like, I got this.
yeah,
So, and like I said, it's like I said, it's an open book. Cook me something good.
yeah,
And that could be anything. It could be vegetarian, it could be vegan, it could be, Latin, whatever. And then in the split second, you got to figure out what path you're gonna take. That's the hard part. Where you going with it? And when you go down that path, you got to make sure you stay down that path because you only got 30 minutes.
yeah. So let's talk about the dishes. I think Laura, once she got settled in, zeroed in on a vegetable dish, a vegetable forward dish. She did something called a zentignagli vegetables. It's veggies cooked in olive oil. So she did a celery root, artichoke, mushrooms with a crab salad. So Kristen said that the citrus sauce was bright and refreshing, and the veggies were tender. May loved the acidity. Tom thought the sauce was nice, but had a touch too much dill. Amanda did gnocchi with scallops, corn, and charred onion and a shrimp boil sauce. I thought she had a great idea. She used the leftover potatoes to make a potato dough and a potato dough gnocchi. Watching her roll that out, though, I thought, I thought, man, those are a little thick. They're a little big, and I was worried about if they were going to cook in time. And even Amanda knew that they were going to come out probably not as nice as she'd like, probably a little gummy. And they did say that. So, but Tom did say the scallops were beautifully seared. There's a nice char in the corn. But May thought the gnocchi was gummy, and Kristen agreed. But they gave her props for trying to do gnocchi in 30 minutes, so she swung for the fences on that one. Didn't quite make it. So after some deliberation, the winner was Laura. So Laura is back in the main competition next week, and Amanda is eliminated. And looking at my team, that's it. I only got Dan left. Everybody on my team is eliminated. So unless Dan can make one hell of a run in these last few episodes, there's probably no way I'm going to win. So go Dan. I'm down to one. I'm down to one chef on my team. So I was really rooting for Amanda to make it through, but she was done in by her gummy gnocchi, and all I got is Dan. So congratulations for winning the Top Chef season 21 draft.
So here's the thing. Next time you do this, remember what I told you. Don't look at their accolades. I didn't pick my team from accolades. I picked my team from cultures.
Yeah, I chose poorly.
He chose poorly.
That's what it is. It is what it is.
I think the only one that, well, two, Mr. Man, I don't know what happened to him, but Rasika, I was pulling for her.
Yeah, I was disappointed when she got eliminated. I had her pegged to be in the finals, but yeah, she peaked early and then didn't quite make it. So yeah, so I chose poorly. I got nobody left, so I'm really hoping that Dan I'm really hoping that Dan finds a second gear and really knocks it out of the park for me. That's the only way I have even a remote chance of winning, is that he sweeps the competition, wins every challenge, and wins the thing. So I don't know. We'll see. So draft point update. Let's talk about the points here for a second. So the quickfire winner was Savannah. Normally quickfire would get you 5 points, but Savannah got you 3 because she was also on the bottom. So it was a 5 - 2 situation. So she got 3 points total. Top of the judges table, you had Michelle and Dan with 3 points each. And the elimination winner was Danny, so that got you 7 points. Bottom of the judges table, you had Manny, and we already talked about Savannah and Sue, so -2 points for everybody all around. Last chance winners was Laura and Amanda. So Laura gets 4 points. You get 2 points for each last chance kitchen win. So she won the first round and the second round, so she gets 4 points there. Amanda won the first round. She gets 2 points. So adding it all up, the episode totals, you have Team Southern Passion Lounge with 15 points for the episode, and Team EYC with 3 points for the episode. And then the final show totals, we have Team Southern Passion Lounge about to hit the century mark at 95 points. The content is at 40. So again, like I said, you get 30 points for winning the thing, and then you get 15 points if you end up in the finals. So the only way I'm going to pull this thing off is if my boy Dan makes a run, which there's some teams out there that have won that were down 3 games and won the last 4, so you never know.
Well, Dan is no slouch by no means.
Right.
So
he's got the potential.
You never know what's gonna happen. So, and I've been saying this from day one. Until Dan gets knocked out, I can't say anything because Dan is killing it. Like I said, I'm a fan of his.
Yeah,
I'm a big fan of Dan's.
Yeah, if Dan gets eliminated, these podcasts are going to get real short. So I'm going to have nothing to talk about. All my people are going to be gone. I'm going to just be watching from the sidelines, going, "Yeah, good job." But
Dan gone. End the podcast.
End the podcast. We're done. We're not even talking about the rest of these episodes.
We're done. So we see you at the end of the show. Be like, okay, now, the winner is.
Yeah, right. We'll see at the award ceremony.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah.
So I think we did it. I think we.
I really want to. Like I said, my hats off to all the chefs that are doing their thing, especially with Last Chance Kitchen. They gave it their all. Like I said, And here's the thing: I don't want people out there to say, "Well, you didn't win, so listen." All these chefs are great winners. Go out and support their restaurants. Whoever you like on there, just go out and support them because it took a lot for them to step up and do this.
That's right.
And they left their families, they left their restaurants, their business, the whole 9 yards. So go back and go out and support these chefs, even the ones that they got eliminated. Charlie out of New Orleans, please go by and see his restaurant. I think he's doing a big event on the 19th of June. All the chefs, just go back and support them because, like I said, they don't get enough praise for what they're doing. So, well, let me ask you this: who you think the fan favorite is going to be?
Oh, geez. I don't know. I haven't really. I'm gonna probably say Michelle. I'm probably gonna say Michelle's gonna be a
Okay,
fan favorite for sure. Savannah could be here
I
towards
like
the
her.
end. Maybe Dan. Definitely Dan. I think he's got a great story that people really connect with. But if I had to put money on it, I would probably say Michelle would probably be a fan favorite. So to be labeled
See,
that.
I say the same thing. Michelle, Dan, um, Dan might be in there too.
Yeah, maybe he might come off as pretentious to some. Maybe.
But once again, he showed his human side by going and help Savannah out.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
They might have, wow, because if you think he's pretentious chefs don't go help other people out.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, they do. I think they
They be
do.
like, you know
Bravo.
what?
Yeah, I think Bravo does like a fan favorite. So I'll have to make sure I follow that and check it out. So, well, Chef, I think we
Okay.
did it. I think we left no fish unboiled on here. Any final
Yep.
thoughts about the episode? Any final thoughts about the episode before we close it out?
No, just like I said, I'm glad that my team is doing well. I'm once again happy for Dan. And we'll just see what happens next week.
All right. All right. So last couple of minutes, anything you need to, anything you want to plug, anything going on? You were at 904 a weekend ago, and you got any other events coming up
Yeah.
or 904 pop up?
Um,
Any other events coming up?
yeah, 904 Pop Up. Big shout out to them. Um, the next big thing I'm working with right now is I'm getting ready to work with some youth in cooking and a whole lot of things, podcasting and all that good stuff. So when we start doing these events with the kids, I'll let you guys know about that.
Awesome. Awesome. Where can people find you on socials if they want to look you up?
You can find me on Instagram at Chef Amadeus, TikTok at Chef Amadeus, on Facebook, fans of Chef Amadeus, and visit the website chefamadeus.net. Go get those spices, and it's grilling season. So hey, hit up the website chefamadeus.net and get you some of those southern rubs and and put them on your ribs and chicken and just have a good time, a good summertime.
Awesome. And also don't forget to follow me on socials at Rich Herrera, at Eat Your Content, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. And also to like and follow, leave a review on this episode and follow on your favorite podcast player of choice and hit that bell notification so you know when new episodes are going to drop. Chef, thank you so much again for your time this week. And we're coming to the tail end here. So we'll see you again in a week and we're getting inching closer and closer to the finale.
Yes, sir. I look forward to it.